Dobra, to drugi talk, lightning talk o pair programmingu, będzie po angielsku. Mariusz Kozieł. Brawa.
Hello, I'm Mariusz Kozieł. I have been a Ruby on Rails developer from 7 years. Now I'm team leader in Visuality in company in software house from Warsaw. I prepared this presentation based on my experience with pair programming technique. I want to convince you to that technique. It's really a strong technique for us, for engineers. I will show you the rules, the best practice, how to do that, to not be afraid of doing that. Also, I will show you some advices how to convince your client to, or your PM to do it more often. So we can start from the beginning. So what is it, pair programming? So pair programming is a group of two developers who sit in front of one workspace, and one of them are a driver who writing a code and explaining what he wants to achieve. And the second one is a navigator who controlling the code, who take a big picture and suggesting. Why we should do pair programming? So for sure for learning. I believe that learning from the second person is the best way to learn. The second person can explain you everything on each level and can suggest you some articles to go deeper in the subject. It's also good for satisfaction. All of us know that we are doing great things, but sometimes it's good to somebody to realize it and to be part of that. And my team and I are proud of our pair programming, and we are happy to work together. Team building and communication. So it's built in spirit, and you learn how to work together. So communication is a really good skill in knowledge-based jobs like software engineering. Pair programming prevents frustration, because if you're alone and you're stuck on some problem, you're stuck and frustrated. But if you have somebody to ask, you can ask and we can do it together, and other point of view is really important in that situation. Problem solving, group of two, fixing possible problems quicker. When should we do pair programming? For sure for architecture. It's really easy to skip some difficult scenarios which affect the solution, so it's good to do it together, and both of you know the architecture, which will be good for the future. Also, it's good for the code reviews. It's difficult to check 1,000 line alone and understand the code briefly. So the other person, the code owner, can explain you that. It's good to do it together, especially when it's a really important part of the application. And after that, your partner also is familiar with the code. So in the future, maybe if the second person have to see to that code, he know it better. So find fix bugs. So other perspectives, sometimes you're stuck on something and you don't know where is the bug, and a second person can help you with that. And I remember the situation when I sit with my team member, and she realized where is the problem and she started explaining the problem. Explain the problem, code structure, so person who know the code, who know that part, can explain you that part briefly, and it can speed up your work. Find edge cases. For example, if you have to implement payment implementation, it's good to sit together and find all possible scenarios, because it's related to money, so it's important part. Short deadline. I remember the situation when our client requested a really important feature with a really short deadline, and we couldn't promise that we can deliver it in that time. But after that, we sit together and we decide to do that task as a pair. And those two guys made a proper study and proper planning. They split subtasks between each other. They sit next to each other, and at the end they delivered that, and they was really proud, and they learned how to communicate between them, and it was really satisfying for them. So, as I mentioned before, there's a driver who writing a code and who explaining the each part and what he's want to achieve, and suggest some implementation and other option how to resolve the code. And there is also a navigator who correcting, clarifying, observing, who keep a big picture, so the navigator has to remember about direction of the code and can suggest some changes, alert some problems, and he cares about quality also. So also it's good in pair programming to switch that roles. So because if you switch roles, you can bring some new values, some new solutions. You see from the other perspective what you are doing. It's good to do that in each 25-45 minutes, but it's not a strict rule. Everything you have to set by yourself. How should we do pair programming? So pair programming is based on communication, so it's really important to communicate well. So you should ask about everything, especially if you don't know what the driver is doing or why he writing that part of the code. Make sure both of you understand the concept. So don't stop rush. Ask your partner if everything is clear for him. You can help to communicate using visual aids. You can draw a diagram on paper to explain everything and to be on the same level. You can also use real-life analogies and metaphors. You should listen, really listen. If you feel that you lose focus, maybe you should suggest a break. Not joking, be involved, so it's important to not disrupt your partner. So if you are still discussing about other things, it's not a proper pair programming, and probably not learn that much when you will be focused on the programming. I want to stress that breaks are really important in that technique. There is a lot of information, and sometimes you can feel overwhelmed with the information. So it's good to take a break and clear your mind. Then you're back with the new ideas. It's good to do it each 30-60 minutes, but it's of course your decision and your partner. So I feel that we most often set our pair programming session for 1 hour, and after 45 minutes I feel sometimes tired and it's difficult to focus. So, and it's also 60 minutes, sometimes it's a problem to make a switch between roles. So maybe it's good to set it for 90 minutes and take a break after 45 minutes and then switch the role, but it's only a suggestion. Be respectful and patient. Everyone has something to offer. Learning is teaching is also learning. So the problem can be trivial for you because you're a better developer and the problem is trivial for you. But be patient and share your knowledge with your team member. It can improve him and he can also give some value for you. Be gentle with your pair and most important with yourself. So don't grab the keyboard if you are not a driver. Leave a space for your partner. It's important also to be prepared. So your partner's time is also important. So your partner's time is as much important as your time. So be prepared to your session. It does not mean that you have to write a prototype before programming, but it's maybe good to read the task before that and look on some possible scenarios. Also, be prepared. It means that hygiene is important, so shower, clean teeth, chewing gum. Maybe it's funny, but sometimes the cigarettes can be a problem, and when your partner feel uncomfortable with that, I think only that cigarettes smell, he can have a problem with focus. Do you want to do pair programming with this guy? Probably not. And pair programming is of course for fun, so working together is a fun, and you also know each other better. With whom should we do pair programming? So it's not a rule that you should always choose a more experienced programmer. Sometimes it's good, for example, for design, architecture, because it will impact the future of the application. It's a normal choice that you try to learn from more experienced one, but sometimes it's also good if you ask somebody who know that area of the code, so the owner of the code, or who know the application, who know that gem which you want to use, or you can ask your team member, your other programmer for other team to only have other perspective on the problem, the bug. Also, it's possible to cooperate between front-end and back-end developers. Maybe it will be more difficult to switch a role, because if you are not writing JavaScript, then it's problematic. But you can, but you can understand what he wants to achieve, and you can help him or her. I want to mention here also when we should decide about pair programming. So I think the best place about when we decide about pair programming is, for example, on planning session or grooming or stand-ups. So in your team you should communicate that you have some problem, or there is some important architecture or some complex things to implement. Then it's good to inform also your PM, because it will be also communicate to your client. Why shouldn't we do pair programming? Don't be a bossy. Nobody wants to work with you. Don't be intimidated. Imagine that your partner also feels intimidated. Don't be quiet. You should discuss with your partner about solutions, about possible scenarios. Don't rush, because it causes problem to the end of the session. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Imagine that you skip some question and it will have problem to the end of the session. Don't hack the keyboard if you are not a driver. Don't get competitive. You meet to this session to show that you are a better programmer or to show that you write code faster. How to inform a client about pair programming? It's a difficult topic because clients think that 2 developers assigned to one task is a waste of money, and they feel that pair programming impact on the delivery performance. But we should show them the truth and convince them to that method. You should treat your client as a partner, and you should, at the early stage, inform them that you're using that method to share the knowledge between your team members and between teams in your company, that you can also make some pair programming with other guy from the other team to get the value for the project. You should show that you are a professional. It will be also that you are good what you are doing. So it's a good practice to pair programming. You can convince them that pair programming is for the quality. So pair deliver code with fewer bugs and better design. You can also convince them that pair programming made a satisfaction in the team and they can learn from each other. It builds team spirit, they communicate better, they feel that they build something together and they know more value from the project, so they are more engaged and they can return some value to the project. And pair programming, of course, is for problem solving. Clients should remember that better architecture will save their money after some time, and also that more people know the code and what's happening there, so they after some time they save money on that. Remote pair programming. It's a little bit different because you have 2 monitors. In my opinion, it's a little more complicated, but it depends. A lot of programmers prefer that method. Also, if they sit together in the same office and they meet and sit in front of the one computer, but they prefer to do it remotely. It gives us some options that navigator can check something in the meantime, and also there is not this uncomfortable with face-to-face cooperation, so you don't have to care about hygiene. But in the other side of the coin, I feel that when you are sit together, you see also your partner emotion. You see when your partner don't understand something, and you can slow down and explain something. It's easier to hide that you don't understand something when you are remotely. Also, you can use paper to draw a diagram and explain something on paper or board. So in pair programming, of course, you should share screen, share code, to feature roles and share nodes to be on the same level. Yeah, there's also the topic extreme pair programming. Software development methodology to intend to improve software quality and responsiveness to changing customer requirements, and that methodology also based on pair programming. It's really important for them. I want to give you some advice. So I suggest to be a driver and navigator to feel comfortable with both roles. It's important. To to know how to be Bob Frog. Yeah. You should feel comfortable with your team members. You shouldn't be afraid to ask on help. You should be yeah, so learn from the other person. Don't be afraid. I remember the situation when one of our developer spent 3 days on the task, and on each stand-up we asked, do you need help with that? But he was afraid to ask for help. And after that we sit together, and after 30 minutes we solve his problem, and he go forward and he solved that problem in 1 day. But it was too late because the sprint was affected by that. And I suggest to do it as often as possible, because it's really good method and you can learn a lot from that. So to summarize, despite the reluctance and preconceptions, pair programming is well worth the investment, and it shouldn't be part of software engineering's normal theory practice. If you have any question, you can answer, if I can.
So I have a question, like what's the percentage of the normal development work versus pair programming, like in your daily work?
Percentage?
Like that you do like 50% of pair programming, or like?
No. I think up to 10, something like that. So it's mostly at the beginning of the task, or if there are a problem with some fixed task, or if there is a huge task when we want to deliver it as a pair, then it's more often.
And did you have a chance to do like two similar tasks, one time like one developer and other time like pair programming? I know that it's not possible to do the same task exactly, but maybe similar one, and compare how it went? No,
we didn't do this experiment, but I read the article about that, and there was a huge amount of developers and the same task, and they showed that experience showed that 18% more time take doing by pair, but it's delivered with fewer bugs and better design at the end. So it is not a lot.
So I heard an opinion that if you do pair programming, then code review is not necessary because two people have worked on this already. So you have any opinion about
that? Yeah, so for sure it's less important then. Code review is less important after when pair work on that, because you care about quality in the when you are doing the task. But probably it depends on the task, because if we decide to do the task together, it's also probably important task related to some important features. So still, if there is a third person in the project, maybe it's good to check one more time briefly, but for sure it's not that important. Any other question? Thank you very much.